It's a blast from the past. NASCAR heads back to North Wilkesboro Speedway for the first time in over 25 years. We get you set for the All-Star Race with our best bets, DFS tiers, and a lot more on tonight's Backroad. Let's jump in.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the States.
All right, welcome down the back road, IBT Media's NASCAR betting and DFS preview show. Tonight, we're looking at the All-Star Race as it heads back to North Wilkesboro Speedway. I'm Seth Woolcock, and tonight I'm joined by a man who represents the city of Boston, Mass. A man who rings the bell for all sports, including NASCAR. He's Action Network's content specialist and TikTok sensation, Tim Kalinowski. What's up, Tim? All right. Looks like we're right off the rip. Looks like we got a little disconnect from Tim here. So we'll have him reconnect. Hit that refresh button, Tim. We'll get you back in here. Guys, I'm so excited to talk about the All-Star Race with you. No Elliott, no Rod tonight, but it's going to be a great show. This is one of those that, as NASCAR fans, we kind of have to put some of the stats behind, and we have to go with our gut a little bit this week. So I'm very excited to jump into it. I'm going to see if we can pull Tim back up here. Tim, nope, no Tim quite yet. So, guys, let's go ahead. We'll jump into in the rear view. We got a little bit of recap to go on here with the Goodyear 400 at Darlington last week. Kind of a shit show, but we'll talk about the bets a little bit as we kind of get Tim back up here on the line. Let's get in the rear view. All right, we got you back, Tim. Thanks for joining us, man. How are you doing tonight? Sorry to cut you off there with a little bit of a lag there.
Yeah, I really know how to make an entrance there. Of course, the Wi-Fi went out just as I walked in, but I'm excited to talk racing. I mean, like you said, I talk all sports, but rarely do I get the chance to just have someone say, let's just talk racing. I don't have to try and wedge it into a conversation that no one wants to hear about. So I'm pumped to be here.
Absolutely, man. Tim, this is your first time on the show, dude. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your racing fandom and your betting background, if you would, please.
Yeah, I bet everything. I've always been a NASCAR, casual, but I'd say once I got to college, of last 5 or 6 years, I've just been completely dialed and haven't missed a race. I think it's especially during COVID, I give NASCAR a lot of credit. They kind of owned that time, and I'm someone who when I'm on a sport, I go all in. I read it, I listen to it, I consume it, and you're looking at a guy who, no matter what, watches basically every race, every lap, because I'm just a complete psycho.
I love it, man. Yeah, I can't get enough of it. It doesn't matter if I'm miles from home. I'll hit that record button and get on it when I get there. Tim, before we talk about the All-Star Race, an exciting one tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Darlington, the Goodyear 400. And man, oh man, is William Byron a lucky son of a bitch this year? Right place, right time for him once again. Classic Darlington race, spread out, one lane at the beginning, becomes kind of a clusterfuck at the end. 8 cautions. MTJ, fastest lap, most laps led for him. I know there are a lot of people in our community riding that ticket out, and they were heartbroken. 8 lead changes. Ross, Kyle Larson, they get into it. And, of course, Rowdy ends himself with a terrible pit stop on the day. Tim, what were your takeaways? How's the betting card last week?
Trash. Absolutely garbage. I was big on Bubba. Look, when you talk about, William Byron, that's what happens when you're in a fast car. You can say you luck into it, but you're always hanging around. You always have that opportunity when you're driving a Hendrick 24, when you race for that team, you're going to find yourself in in situations like that, opportunities to win when you don't have your fastball. So that's kind of what you get. And that's good for him, but he's had a good year. He's been fast all year. And there was a couple he could have also had this year. So I feel like it was kind of like water finding its level almost, that he was able to steal one.
Yeah, 3 wins on the season for Byron already. Hendricks continues to roll here. For us on the back road, it wasn't a great week either. We were holding that Kyle Busch outright tight. I thought he was going to get it there. And then, of course, he does what he does best, gets in trouble in the pits, outruns his stall. Other than that, guys, wasn't a great week for us. Tyler Reddick, we missed that outright in top 5 as well. We took the long shot, the old long shot on Corey LaJoie. Didn't come to fruition. We were able to hit that Noah Gragson over Daniel Suarez. Thankfully, the number 42 car comes forward for us. Anything else on this, Tim? Any final thoughts as we close the door on throwback weekend here?
Ross Chastain, we gotta mention that debacle all over again. I got my Ross shirt on. I love Ross. I think he's so good for the sport.
Agreed.
I think NASCAR is, missing a gigantic opportunity to make this guy almost the face of the sport. And I know it's tough because he only has 2 cup wins, one on a super speedway, one on a road course where he, wiped out 2 guys in doing so. But like, the guy's electric. The guy's a freaking maniac. Casual people who watch NASCAR for the first time, they want to see aggressive driving. They want to see, no give and take, aggressiveness, causing a wreck. And he's good. He has speed in the car every single week. When I'm watching with friends who don't watch NASCAR a lot, I'm like, watch the one car. This guy doesn't give a fuck. This guy, he is an absolute maniac.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The one terrible part about, though, it's so hard to bet on him right now or bet on other guys who are getting involved with him, although Kyle Larson last week, man. I mean, it was so tough to see how that kind of went down. Obviously, it was give and take. I'm not going to blame anyone for that incident, unlike most media pundits out here. But I agree with you, man. When you have a guy who goes on the Pat McAfee show and actually owns it, like Chase was on there a couple weeks before, and Chase is the most popular driver in this sport. I don't want to get into debate about it, but he doesn't have much of a personality, and then you get Ross up there. Yeah.
Zero.
Ross is that guy, man. So I'm excited to see what he can do this week. A little foreshadowing, Tim. Are you on Ross at all here as we head to race for $1 million?
No, because I think you brought up a really good point. It's almost impossible to bet on the guy right now because he's made so many enemies. And look, no one's really paid him back, right? I guess Denny a little bit. But for me, he's being priced for his speed. But built into that price should be the fact that anybody can take their payback on this guy at any given moment. And like I said, with only 2 Cup Series wins, even though he has speed in the car, he's being priced up there with the Larsons, with the Hamlins. And so it kind of makes him tough to bet on.
I 100% agree. Let's talk about it a little more through a DFS lens as we break down it in some DFS tiers here. All right. And before we pull up the DFS tier maker, I do want to talk a little bit about what we can expect from North Wilkesboro in general here. This is going to be an exciting weekend. All around, I think NASCAR fans are very hyped up about it. This is an historic 0.625 mile track, last ran in 1996. Tim, before you and I were even born. So it's going to be hard to kind of draw comparisons because it really is like a little bit of a roller coaster track. Uphill backstretch, downhill front stretch. Pretty unique if you ask me, and there's going to be a lot of tire wear. So coming into this, Tim, do you feel like it's going to be a little gimmicky and that we need to kind of ration our units this week? Because we've seen what happens at some of these. Bristol Dirt was a fine example. The favorites were taken out almost automatically because of some bullshit.
I think it will. I think you definitely have to be very cautious with your bankroll this week because so much uncertainty. There aren't points on the line, just a purse. So we don't really, it's tough with the whole open and whatnot. Like for me, before I saw the odds drop, I'm like, I want to be on Harvick. This place is going to chew up tires. Yes. Harvick knows how to take care of his tires. How can I get at Harvick? The odds dropped and Harvick's listed as one of the favorites. And I'm like, okay, that's tough. How else am I going to get at this?
Yeah, and that's the whole issue this week with the tire wear, and we'll talk more about specifically. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge in that 200-mile sprint because you can only take tires one time in the last 100 laps. So do you use it in the beginning? Do you use it in the middle? Do you use it at the end? We're going to see how that plays out here. Here's the format for this week before we jump into the tiers. It's going to feature the 2022, the 2023 winners of the main races. And then we're also going to come back. We're going to see previous All-Star race winners, Ryan Blaney specifically, and then previous Cup Series championship. That's going to give Brad Keselowski a ticket into this race as well. Practice Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Qualifying, that's going to be that pit crew challenge. A little bit of a dicey roll for a couple of these guys who don't love their pit crews. That's at Friday, 5:45 p.m. Eastern time. And then Saturday, we have the heat races 1 and 2. Those are 60-lap shootouts. Those are going to be for the top 21 teams that are already into this race. We'll see that 7:35, 8:15. And then the open race. This is where it gets fun, I think, on Sunday. And shout out to the books for actually letting us bet on this open race as a separate event. I love that.
I'm stunned they were able to figure that out.
And it's funny because even some of the platforms that we like a lot, they don't have, like, you can bet the outrights on Barstool where we get a lot of our odds from for that All-Star Open, but you can't bet like top three, some other things like that. But Caesars, they came to play this week. Shout out Caesars and that sports book. I really appreciate what they did. But we're going to take the top driver from that one, or top two from that open race. They're going to transfer in, and the fan vote as well. Any guesses for the fan vote here, Tim? Who do you think is going to take it? My money would be on Josh Berry here. I think he could be someone that people are really enjoying here early in the season for Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott earlier.
I think that's a pretty good pick. How about someone like Corey LaJoy?
Yeah, Corey LaJoy can get some love. Maybe
Gregson, just because everyone will feel bad that he took one right in the jaw 2 weeks ago. I don't know.
That's true.
It's going to be tough. It's not that obvious. I don't know. That's the thing we're talking about. There's so we lack so many great personalities. I mean,
yeah,
Corey's probably the best personality out of that group, I'd say.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely not the Harrison Burtons or the Justin Haleys of the world. And then we're going to get into the All-Star race. Whoever it is in the fan vote, the 2 transfer spots, 125 miles, 200-lap shootout, Sunday at 8. This is where you want to be making sure you're invested in by. They're going to start on fresh sticker tires. They have 3 more in the pits. Overtime rolls are in effect this race. However, the competition break will come at lap 100. And at that point, you have 1 more set of tires to use after lap 100. Tim, that's going to play a big factor in this. Like you said earlier, can we pick someone who manages their tires very well and can get to the end of this race? So I'm excited to see how that plays out. Might have lost Tim here. Again, he's cutting out a little bit. We'll try to pull him back up here. But let's go ahead. We're going to pull up our tier maker as we wait for Tim to get in here. And right off the bat, guys, I do want to say this is going to be a little bit quicker of a tier portion of the show than usual. Normally we come in here, we have fan track prices. A lot of the season-long formats like fan tracks, we don't have any prices coming over from them. So we're going to be quicker here on this. We're going to stick to the DraftKings salary specifically here. And I want to start with the guy who's coming in as the favorite, and it's no other than Kyle Larson. You're paying up for him this week at 10-1. You're paying up for him at 10-1, but Kyle Larson, man, there's a reason you're paying up for him. This guy has been an absolute clinic on these short tracks all season long. He's won our closest 2 comp tracks here, Martinsville and Richmond, where we got to pay attention to this Richmond race. I know it's hard to comp it to this roller coaster of a track, as we said, but Richmond is the closest thing we got. Kyle Larson was the best car there by far. I'm paying up for Kyle Larson this week. I usually try to fade the top of the board just a little bit in the stacks, but yeah, Kyle Larson, I am paying up for this week. And then I'm also going to be paying up for Joey Logano at 9,700. I think he's another great option for us out there, guys. Joey Logano is the master at these debut tracks. What did he do just last season? He won Bristol Dirt. He won the Coliseum in its debut, and also Gateway. So I'm really excited to see that, see what Joey Logano can do out there. I know he's been super inconsistent, only averaging about 29 DraftKings points, and I wish that was baked into the price tag a little more. It's either all or nothing is what you get with Logano here, but he was top 5 in last year's All-Star race as well. I'm ready to pay up for him at 9,700, so interested in Logano as well. Let me see if I can bring Tim back up here. Tim, you got a copy on me? All right, no Tim quite yet. We'll keep running through the board here as we work to get him out. Hopefully he can refresh, close down his browser, get back in here. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to stick here in the top tier. And if it's anyone, it's got to be Martin Truex Jr. I think he deserves to be up here. Guy was fast at Richmond. Guy was fast at Martinsville at times as well. And man, don't count out that number 19 card this week. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what Martin Truex can do here. You want a guy who's leading the most DraftKings points all season long. That's Martin Truex Jr. That's what you're getting with him, guys. So he's going to continue to do it at a price of 9,100. I will have him in my lineups, or 9,300, excuse me. And then what about William Byron? Can we bring William Byron back in here as well? I think he's still a top 2 car for me this week. William Byron has been excellent all season long, man. Fastest car at Richmond, 3rd in Richmond in 2022, 11th in that Richmond fall race last year. So I think he's going to be a guy who's just going to hang around in this All-Star race. I don't think we see Byron getting super competitive, probably a top 5 car most of the day, but towards the back half of that top 5. So I really like William Byron right now as well. He's going to kind of round out my driver A tier here a little bit. So sticking with the A's, there's only a couple more that I think we can really put up here. And it is a gamble, as Tim kind of said in the prelude of this episode, that Ross Chastain is going to get into some trouble. But he is actually fairly priced this week at 8,600, still averaging 42 DraftKings points per week. So I think Ross belongs in this tier. I'm excited to see what he can do as well. So let's take a pause. Let's take a pause here for a moment. I'm going to try to get Tim back up. I'm going to run a little bit of a promo here for one of our recent Backroad episodes. So let's go ahead and run that. And I'm going to get Tim back up here and see what we can do.
Nothing beats waking up like on an early Saturday morning, college football game day, NFL game day, whatever you got going on, walking outside, throwing that sweatshirt on, and cracking a cold beer, boys. A cold beer, it's hitting just right with that 60, high 50, maybe low 70-degree temperature, little humidity in the air. I mean, I prefer a Busch Light apple that early in the morning, but I do not think you can go wrong. Early morning beers, I love it. As we're walking to the Penn State games over here in State College, I'm getting tuned up here early in the morning, but it's a blast, man. There's nothing like that, honestly. I love a lot of different beers. I love shower beers. I love vacation beers. I love Friday beers, but I think I love those early Saturday morning fall beers at the 101, baby.
All right. Still working on getting Tim back. We're going to run one more promo here for a recent episode of Pulp Fantasy.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Pulp Fantasy. Free agency started and trades started happening.
Nothing to see here, please.
Tom Brady, unretired after being retired for a couple of hours. We'll have to run through that whole Brady GOAT thing another time. When he officially retires at some point in the future. Again, this will be my new segment entitled, for now, NFL Terms and Phrases as told by the movie Dazed and Confused and various other movies too.
I get older, they stay the same age.
All right, we're back in here. Tim's going to try to reconnect here as we roll through here. But let's talk about this first here, guys. These are the players that I feel comfortable rolling out here in DraftKings this week. And there's one more special one I do want to throw out. He's not in there as of now, but I'm very interested to see what he can do. And that's the number 48 car of Josh Berry. This guy is coming in. And has there been anyone more impressive than Josh Berry this season? Like, let's just take a step back. Has there really been a NASCAR driver in the Cup Series more impressive than Berry? He's coming in at the price of $8,400. He has to transfer over. But I'm going to talk a little bit about later why I like him so much in this race. But he obviously has the best car in that transfer race, in that open on Sunday afternoon. So I think he's going to wheel himself right back into this mix. And I think at 8,400 for a guy who won earlier this season or got second here at Richmond, I really like it. I think we got Tim back here on the line. Timmy, what's good, brother?
Do you have me now?
I got you, man. I got you. Sorry about the technical difficulties, my man.
No, it's me. It's me. I got this Mickey Mouse Wi-Fi, 700 tabs open. I'm a joke.
Yeah, man. StreamYard is no joke sometimes. It can definitely do that. So we've made it through the top tier here, Tim. I want to break it back down for you. What is your feedback here? Obviously, I'm going with some favorites early on. Kyle Larson, you can't not love him after sweeping Bristol or Martinsville and Richmond earlier this season. Joey Logano, the first time coming to a track, he is excellent every single time. Martin Truex, he's been the DraftKings darling all season long. What do you think about this top three here in driver A? Anyone you would sub out?
Well, I'm looking. I know he's driving a different number this week. How about Kevin Harvick? You forget about Kevin Harvick?
Man, if my normal co-host Rod, he is here every single week pounding the floor for Kevin Harvick. I think he belongs in the A tier. I think you're right. The issue I think with Kevin Harvick is I worry, like I know he's going to be there at the end, but I don't know if he'll be truly aggressive enough to win this race here. But I do like the total speed rankings here. Over there from iFantasy Race, Kevin Harvick had one of the fastest cars here at Richmond and Martinsville, second overall speed ranking from both of those tracks. So he could be dangerous here. Would you play him over a guy like Truex here? DraftKings actually has him 9,900. So I think it's more just a price thing for me. If I'm paying that high, Tim, I think I want to go Larson. But I understand Harvick might be the one to survive the tidal wave.
That's how I see it. I mean, at least for the 48, I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
Okay.
You know, I appreciate you, taking a risk and, a little bit of a hot take. But when you talk about short tracks, you talk about tire wear, I don't know how the conversation can't start with Kevin Harvick.
That is a great point, man. That is a great point. And maybe I'm being a little too low on him. So I appreciate you kind of balancing me out there. Any other thoughts on, I have the 24 car up there. He's been brilliant on shorts all season, really just a recent performance thing for me. And then the number 1 car, we talked about it. It's going to get dicey, but we know if there's anyone who can hang till the end and is willing to wreck someone and cash in some lineups, cash in some tickets for us, it's Ross, man. 8,600 too. We're getting a little bit of a value over there from DK.
Yep, I agree with the 1 car. Look, if we're talking about someone who's going to move someone at the end, that's a guy who would absolutely be willing to do so. The 22, he would do the same thing as well. But are we throwing Logano in here just because he's won at tracks that we haven't been to before? Like, is he kind of just being like is that a reputation play, or is that a, stats and analytics backed play? Not that I have any stats or analytics.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. He was very good at Martinsville. I believe he was a top 5 car there this year. And he was decent at Richmond. He hasn't been always consistent there, and his speed ranking for both those tracks not as great as we want as well. So I do agree with you. I think it more is a reputation play here with Logano. So it sounds like you'll have a lot of Kevin Harvick in your lineup. Who else out of this top tier would you be playing? Seems like you like Ross a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think I lean Truex more if I have to.
Okay.
When I look at that group, Truex just kind of quietly, again, we talk short tracks. I think of Truex at Martinsville. He's a guy that, and look, the Toyotas have had speed, hum last week. So He is a guy who does know how to take care of his tires as well. So I think Truex would be my second favorite there.
Okay. In this second tier, I'm going to start out with Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a guy who is great at tire wear tracks. You talk about a guy who's great at Richmond, our highest comp track this week as well. It's Denny Hamlin. He has 4 wins there. He has 17 top 5s there. And I think Denny Hamlin has kind of learned his lesson this year. I think he's realized, like, what's he best at? Kind of sitting back and then pouncing late in a run. We don't have a super long run, but we are hopefully going to have close to 100 laps after that mandatory caution on lap 100. So the number 11 car, I think he's priced very fairly here. Tim, any thoughts on him or the number 20? Because I know the 20 car is going to get a lot of love this week, but it's just a high price tag of 9,500. He didn't stick out to me in my model as much as these other drivers up top.
I can never figure out Christopher Bell. I'm always going to be too late once he wins, for the following week. I'm never going to. He's a guy I can never just get a good handle on. I was there in New Hampshire last year when he won there, and I basically, when I go to a race, I somehow have money on every single driver but the guy who wins. And Christopher Bell was that situation to a T. And when we talk so much, like all I've basically said to you is tire wear, tire wear, tire wear. My two biggest fears when I say that are, one, similar to Darlington, the tires just kind of all fall off. It's like a plateau and everybody kind of falls off at the same time. There was no like taking care of tires at Darlington this past week. And then like coming through late in a run. And second, what we also saw at Darlington, just a shitload of cautions, and the long runs don't really matter.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. How do you feel about the number 9 car? Because I think I would play him over the 20. We've seen him get it done in an all-star like event before. Chase is really good at these short tracks, man. We haven't seen a lot from him so far, but he's been one of the best cars, most consistent cars since he's come back, still averaging just over 41 DraftKings points. I think I can get down with it 8,300. I think you're paying down like you can get him or Josh Berry if Josh Berry makes the race at the same price. So I think it screams that Chase Elliott should be in some lineups this week.
I totally agree with that. In terms of just looking at Chase from an outright standpoint, the last couple of weeks, I've taken the bait and bet Chase outright because he's been, priced not like normal Chase Elliott.
Yes, he has been.
And I've been trying to be ahead of the curve. Like I said, I always whiff on Bell. I've been trying to be ahead of the curve on Elliott, and I think Elliott finds his way onto my betting card in some way, beyond just our DFS here.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take another little bit of a hot take here, a little bit of a ripper, if I would. And I'm going to go with that Ricky Stenhouse number 47 car, man. Just talk about a guy who all season, every kind of track he's getting it done, had a little bit of a pit road issue last week, had to come back down and ended up falling out of the top 10. But he was a top 10 car for a lot of that race at Darlington last week, averaging just over 35 DraftKings points per contest. And he's at the 6,000 price range here, Tim. I think I would you would have to hold a gun to my head and say you would hurt a lot of people I like to make me want to play any of these other guys in that range. Austin Cindric, Eric Jones. I can't get down. Even Austin Dillon. I can't get down with those guys this week. Ricky Stenhouse is the one dart throw I really like.
I don't mind that at all. Last week I was on Ricky outright. I had a book who hung him 80-1 at one point during the week. So, and I loved that. And unfortunately, his day was cut short at Darlington. He was fast in the beginning. He was running the top 10. Ricky's had a lot of speed in the car this year. I give him credit. He's done a good job. And, the more I look at this, the more I look right now, have we been skipping over the 8 car? Kyle Busch is still damn good.
I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned with him, honestly. Looking back at the speed rankings, he is 24th from Martinsville and Richmond combined. I mean, he's been worse than Austin Dillon this year on these short tracks. He squeezed out a top 10 at Phoenix earlier this season, but he was not a top 10 car. I can't play him at these short tracks, and I'm worried about what the pit crew is going to do in the pit crew competition. I'm worried about what they're going to do in the All-Star race. So I want to throw him in the D's or the C or the D tier. Can you talk me out of one of those? Where do you think he belongs here, Tim? Because I'm done with him.
Well, it's funny you say that. I've already bet him.
Oh no, Tim!
I've already bet him 16-1 on DraftKings. I don't know if that's still the number, but maybe I just still have a little bit of a problem where I'm like, when I see Kyle Busch at odds like that, I'm like, I can't pass it up. I still am a really big believer. I don't love Kyle Busch. I'm a Kyle Busch hater. I'm a fuck Kyle Busch guy. But he, to me, when we just talk about similar to how we grandfathered in Joey on reputation, I do that with Kyle Busch. I can't help but not. We think of the Clash this year, right? He came right out of the gate, and was really strong there. So it's like, for me, I think if you're going to grandfather in Joey Logano, I feel that way. That's how I feel about Kyle Busch.
Okay. I'm seeing him right now live about 1,200 or plus 1,200, 12-1. So I don't mind the call. I'll put him in the C's. I'll give him a little bit of respect for you this week. Actually, I'll throw him up to the B.
No, he's a C. I like your argument better. Better.
And I think at the end of the day for Kyle Busch, man, it's like, you have to play him sometimes. And last week was that time for me. And I think I'm probably a little biased, honestly. He fucked me over, Tim. I was riding the ticket.
I don't mind you.
So,
I don't mind a little grudge.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna also while we're at it, man, I'm gonna throw the number 3 car down to that tier, maybe even the D tier. Also been pitifully bad at short track so far this season. Cannot get behind any Austin Dillon and Austin Cindric, man. Let's just throw him down in the D's. Talk about a fall from grace. He looked so good last season, and at the end of the season as well, he was running good in the playoffs. I believe he made the top 12 cutoff as well, and was running super strong at a lot of different tracks. He's been abysmal this year, Tim. We're talking 16 DraftKings points per week. That is less than JJ Yaley, my friend.
Here's what just came to mind as we talk about Austin Cindric, and you absolutely bang on about it. You wonder why guys like Ross race so aggressively, and we talk about when you're racing for a win, how important it is. There's no give and take. Wow, these guys, like, they're different than this era. These guys are the worst. They have no respect for anyone. They'll drive right over someone, right through someone. Here's why guys do that. What would we be saying about Austin Cindric if he didn't have a Daytona 500 to his name? What would we be saying about him? Because he's been pretty garbage aside from that. And look, and remember, he didn't cooperate with Blaney during the final laps of that 500. Like,
yeah.
That's to me, like, it's the epitome of, hey, here's why I didn't really work with my teammate, because now if I don't have that win to my name, my job might be at stake. My future might be at stake.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, man. Tim, I'm going to take a couple shots here on some of these other, I just call them the other guys in the race, because they're the guys who've won a race in the last year, but I don't really know if they'll be factors here. Let's start with the 99 car. He's a low C- to me. Just hasn't had consistency. However, he was a top 5 car at last year's All-Star race. So again, that was Texas, totally different track. But I'm not really interested in Suarez. Honestly, I could even make the argument for D. Same thing with a guy like Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe started off, kind of decent in the month of April, and then just fell off once he got that hand fixed. Tim, hasn't been great for him. So I think I want these guys maybe almost in the D tier. Can you talk me into either any of those guys or like a Michael McDowell? Because I just see them as junk, and I don't really want to play them, but we have to play one or two of them.
I think that, so the 14's been interesting because he's kind of been a trendy pick I've seen for this week. But I mean, God, like, the Fords haven't had much speed. I look at the 14, hasn't really had speed.
Yeah.
The 99 has had speed. So it's like they're kind of in the same boat, though, in that, like, Briscoe, I kind of believe in him on a short track, but he hasn't had speed. The 99, I don't so much believe in him on a short track, but that car has had speed. So it's like kind of net leaves you kind of in the same territory for me.
Okay. I'm going to throw Michael McDowell in this conversation as well. I mean, I think McDowell is priced a little bit high, $7,300. You can pay $1 more and get Ryan Blaney. So like, I don't see the point in playing McDowell. But what about Blaney here? I think he's coming in at a value $7,400. I know that's one of your guys. Can you make the argument for a B tier at that price tag? Because I think he's a little bit mispriced for a guy who just won this event last season, albeit at a different track.
I probably put him upper C, like C plus. Okay. The price is good, but again, he's been pretty garbage all year. It's been tough, but he is good on short tracks. Like, he used to be my Martinsville darling.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be an auto bet for me every time they went to Martinsville. It's so difficult. I actually feel better like putting a guy like Bubba up.
Oh, okay.
Because he's had speed.
Yes.
A guy, he likes Martinsville. I know this isn't Martinsville, but that's all we kind of really have to go on. And he's been heating up last couple of weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, man, Bubba's been really strong. We've cashed a couple top Toyota bets on him in the recent couple weeks. Yeah, man, I do like Bubba, and talk about a guy who's not afraid to, if he's got to give someone a slide job, if he has to do something dirty to win the race. We've seen it from Bubba Wallace a time or two. He's one of those, I think, Tim, the biggest thing with him, can he stay to the end? Can he not get himself in trouble? And usually he's a guy who will get himself into the race and he's just happy to be here. But this year he has that spot in this All-Star race. He doesn't have to compete in the Open. So I do like him as well. And a little bit of a gut call. I'm going to talk about him a bit later in the betting card portion of the show, Tim. But the 17 car, Chris Buescher, man. He's a guy who just hangs around especially at these tracks with not a full slate of cars, whether it's the duels, whether it's at the Clash. This guy is always a competitor there. I like what he's been doing as of late. Top 5 car at Richmond before getting tied up in a wreck this year. So I'm going to throw him in my D tier as well. How do you feel about him? And Brad Keselowski, we have not talked about either, a guy who's had a lot of success on short tracks throughout his career. Could this be Brad's time to finally get back in the winner's circle?
When we were starting to talk, I was about to start saying, let's talk about the RFK cards, because I feel similarly. I think I was on Buescher at the Clash. I feel like, and look, Keselowski, they've dramatic improvement this year with that team. The two of them, Keselowski might be in like a Blaney situation where like Keselowski might win, but win the All-Star race and not etch his way into the playoffs. So I could absolutely close my eyes and see Keselowski getting the win and then not winning the rest of the year.
Yeah, man, I 100%. I have an under bet on him for the season still win total, so I'm hoping that does not come to fruition.
Is it 1/2? What is it?
It is one. It is one.
Does the All-Star race count?
No, it does not.
Gotcha.
So yes, I'm excited to see how that plays out here. Also, I think he belongs in the C tier. It's another guy who's been so tough to figure out outside of road courses this season. It's Tyler Reddick, man. I was back on him last week, and it did not really come to fruition. He was a top 10 car at the end of it. Was able to stay out of trouble for the most part last week. But he just comes in here. He was terrible at Richmond. He was good at Martinsville. So we kind of have a mishmash of results so far on short tracks this season. Any thoughts on the number 45 car here? You liked Bubba, so am I too low on Tyler Reddick?
I think Tyler Reddick is going to be a big stay away from me this week.
Okay.
When I was writing my notes as my prep here, like one of the first things I wrote down was, because I have this narrative in my head now, can't remember where I heard it, but saying that Reddick, it might have been Denny saying it on his podcast, Reddick has a hard time taking care of tires. He drives super aggressively.
Yes.
He likes to just, kind of run wide open on the top. That's not really what we're going to be doing here. That tends to eat away at tires. Look, I might be eating my words at the end of this if we see Reddick in victory lane, but I think he's going to be a fade guy for me, honestly.
Okay, what about the number 43 from Eric Jones here? He's the last one we have not talked about that's going to be qualifying for this All-Star race automatically. Any love for Eric Jones? I mean, really been a tough season for him. He finally had a little bit of a run going last week at Darlington, a place he likes, and got caught up in it. Noah Gragson ended up having a better finish than him. So how do we feel about the 43 car this year or this week?
I'm on a massive campaign to get Eric Jones into a competitive ride next year.
Okay.
I'd love to see him back. Obviously he was at Gibbs, and I feel for the guy. You come in so young, it's a lot of pressure to be just thrown into that team, and like it happened to Joey before, right? So I could see him kind of having a similar path. Like I want him in the 4 car next year so dang badly. I think he's so talented, but that team has just been so garbage this year. I don't think you can play him. I think he's as low as it gets, honestly. Like
okay.
I do you see this? Am I crazy? Like he's just been.
It's so tough to get behind any legacy motorsports right now. Like there's a reason they're switching to Toyota. It's just been a terrible season overall. And honestly, if Noah Gragson somehow can get that fan vote, as you were talking about, or wheel his way into this thing, I prefer to play him honestly at this price. So I'm just not interested in it. Right now, we are left with all the people who could go for the Open. We've already talked about Josh Berry. I threw him up in the A tier because I'm very high on him this week. Tim was a little bit hesitant on that. The other favorites in that race, Tim, the number 54 car, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Preece, number 41 car, and for some damn reason, Eric Almirola in the 10. So do you like any of those guys that we could play in DFS this week? They're all priced kind of reasonably high, 7,500 Almirola, Preece 7,800, and then, of course, Ty Gibbs at 8,000 flat. So do you like any of them for those prices if they can get in?
Well, it's tough because Ty Gibbs has the best ride out of this group. 100%. So I think if you're in a spot right here, like gun to your head, it's like, well, I'm just going to go play the guy with the best car and not overthink it. And if it doesn't go my way, I can at least sleep at night going, I bet the guy with the best car out of this group.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Ryan Preece. Like, I wanted to find a way to find myself betting on Ryan Preece just because, I was on him big for the dirt race and he did kill me. But
Yes.
I think he could have won that race. So that kind of sucks. But what do we out of this group? When I like kind of look at this kind of, I'm like Todd Gilliland, maybe like.
Little Toddy G. Okay. Yeah. I mean, dude, Todd Gilliland has been a DFS savant this year.
Yep.
Like, if you're playing him at the bottom of your lineups, you're probably optimizing it more times than not. So I don't mind the play of Todd Gilliland, man. Give Todd Gilliland a little bit of love. Let's throw him on here. We'll throw him in this D tier. I think Ty Gibbs belongs up. Like, I would rather play him than Reddick. Dylan, honestly, I honestly think we should move these guys down to the D's. I'm just not feeling the 3 and the 45 this week. One person I think we have talked a little bit about, Ryan Preece. I think he could be a C driver. He's a great short track driver, man. That's what he made his bread and butter. Like, he's a New England guy, he's a New England guy. He's right up there with you. So I think he belongs in that C tier as well. I would like to play him if he gets in there. 7-8 price tag for him. Anyone else here? I think Noah Grassley probably belongs here, at least in the D's. But there's really no one else that I think has a chance to qualify. Colleagues just has not been great lately. LaJoy, though, LaJoy's always around as well.
LaJoy, I mean, I think it could be a big weekend for LaJoy. We talk about personalities. Like, I want to see LaJoy in the dance. Like, I think he could win the fan vote. So maybe there's some value in there, and that we're like, hey, LaJoy's going to be in the dance, and he's just, I don't know. Maybe the circumstances will, maybe this kind of, maybe this race will turn into something where it like almost levels the playing field and someone like Corey can come out of it. Like, at this point, we're grasping at straws. So I'm just going for my favorite narratives.
Yeah, 5,800 for him. He's still averaging over 32 DraftKings points per week. Did not come through for us last week on the top 10 bet, but he's been very consistent all season long. So that's our DFS tiers for the week, guys. This is who we're playing this at their price tags on DraftKings. No season-long leagues for the most part. Tim, what do you say, man? Let's go jump into our betting portion of the show.
Let's do it. That's where I want to be.
All right, let's get after it here in parking garage props. All right. Tim and I talked about it earlier on the show tonight, guys. This very cool weekend because we can bet both on the open and the main event. So let's break it down here. The open favorites tonight, 4-5-1. You're probably going to get Josh Berry, Ryan Preece, Ty Gibbs, Eric Almirola. They're going to be the favorite for that open race. And then we're going to come back for the All-Star race. And about 7-9-1, you can get Kyle Larson, Harvick, Logano. Those are the more favorites there. Let's start with winners, man. Who do you like from an outright perspective in either one of those races, Tim?
Well, I already gave you one, and it was Kyle Busch, and I didn't feel too great about it when you kind of gave me the rebuttal before I could even open my mouth. But I just liked the price for him at the time. Like I said, he's still 16-1 on DraftKings, what I see right now. I think it's such a good place where I was fine starting my card.
Okay. I'm going to go with Kyle Larson as my outright. The other Kyle, it's plus 700. And I think the one thing I'm concerned about is what happened at last year's All-Star race, what happened to the dirt race for Kyle Larson. He ends up in the wall, maybe something with Ross Sparks back up. But that's a fair price for a guy who's the closest two comp tracks, Martinsville and Richmond. He's had the fastest car there. He's won it. Dude can drive a bit everywhere, but it's all gas, no brakes for him. 5 top 5s this season, no other top 10 finishes outside those. So when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. Rick Hendrick last time at this racetrack, he swept it in 96 with Jeff Gordon and Terry Labonte, baby. So a little bit of Rick Hendrick love here. Anyone else in the outright portion that you like that we should maybe be on, whether it's the open or just the All-Star race in general, Tim?
Yeah, well, first off, I'm going to plug the Action app here. This is the best thing for shopping your lines here. Action app, very, very good. So if you don't have to check every single book, what are their odds, what are this, and open up a million tabs, it's all right here. So that's what I'm going off of. And I hate playing big. Like I hate playing the favorite, Larson. Like,
yes.
would I like to have Kyle Larson, be on my card? Yeah, but I just have a hard time
I
betting
get it.
favorite, the favorite. And on top of that, I just think that anything can happen when we're talking about like a non-points race like this. I close my eyes and see something ridiculous happening. So I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin here. He's 12-1 on FanDuel. We talked about guys that are, Richmond, Martinsville.
Yes.
Denny, he said on his podcast, I'm about to get white hot. He started to get real hot. And I think an all-star race, an all-star victory here at North Wilkesboro could be in the cards for him.
Okay, Denny Hamlin. I like that call there. 11-1 for Hamlin on Barstool. You said the best number you can find is 12 on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I see 12 on FanDuel right now. But
okay.
My Wi-Fi is terrible, as we know. So
yeah, absolutely. I went to bet Kyle Larson earlier, and as I was doing it, he dropped from 700 to 650 on a couple of books. I had to scramble. Was able to find the 700 number still on Barstool. So that's where I'm coming from there. I'm going to go the NASCAR All-Star Open for my next one. I'm going to go the outright on Josh Berry, and I'm also going to go a top 3 on him. Plus 135 for the top 3 at Caesars, plus 400 at DraftKings for that outright. And this is a story of just being the best car in the field. He's the only Hendrick car left. It's pretty much between him and Ty Gibbs, who's in a Joe Gibbs racing car. And Bowman's car was a top 4 combined total speed ranking car at Richmond and Martinsville. He had speed there, one at Martinsville and Xfinity, Barry did, and 2 top 5s in 5 starts at Richmond as well. So he's good at both these tracks. And I think the thing I love about Josh Berry most this week, Tim, is he got 2nd place at Richmond, our closest comp track on the year. That was arguably his best race in the Cup Series. 8 starts for him, 3 top 10s already, 2 top 5s. So I'm all in on Josh Berry this week to win the Open, get himself into that All-Star race.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to is Gibbs or Berry. Like that's kind of how it is. But I will say I can see the Open race becoming a pileup, and maybe those cars up front, all wreck each other. And so I'm a fucking degenerate, so I'm gonna want to have some action on the race.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna lean more towards sprinkling on my guy Gilly. I see.
Okay.
I see 18-1 on DraftKings. That'll be a little sprinkle for me. Maybe top 3 as well. Look, like I said, I want action on the race. I'm not taking one of the big favorites. I love rooting for Gilly. He drives the shit out of that car every week.
Yes, he does, man. It's top 13 speed form at Martinsville as well. So he has been competitive this season. Every time we've rode Gillen this season, it's worked out. So you might have talked me into that one, honestly, Tim. I might be adding that one to my card as well. Anything else here in the outright market or in the placement props, top 3s, top 5s, top 10s for any of these races that you're seeing that we should possibly get invested in?
Yeah, and by the way, Gilly, it's just a little taste, everybody. Okay, like, come on, we're not going to break the bank on the Open race betting Gilly here. it's just a little taste. I think, like I said, I have guys that I am interested in betting, guys I'm certainly interested in not betting, and like I said, Tyler Reddick's a guy that I'm not really interested in betting. I think maybe Keselowski that we talked about. I see myself maybe sprinkling on him. If I pull him up here, Kez 25-1 on FanDuel, DraftKings, that might be a little sprinkle for me.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move to the placement props in portion of my card. And I'm going to go with William Byron, top 5, plus 160 on Barstool. I'm really hot on the Hendrick camp, as we've already kind of laid out. I like Berry. I like Larson this week. Byron, fastest car at Richmond. He was good here last year as well, or not here, but at Richmond. And this guy, we talked about it earlier, Tim, just finds a way to hang around. I don't see him being super competitive, trying to wheel this race right from the get-go. Most top 5s in the series this year as well at 6, 3 wins for the kids. So I don't think I can quite get down on the outright right now because I think maybe that number grows live, possibly. But I'm going to get down on the top 5 here at plus 160. Any thoughts on Byron or any other Hendricks in the placement props that you might like?
I'm convinced. I'll add that to my card. When I'm building this card, I would be an absolute fool, which I am most of the time, to not have any Hendrick cars. So I have to. And I think you just talked me into it. I probably would have forgot about that and then had egg on my face. So you're 100% right there, I think.
Every time I don't bet William Byron, he wins. So it's like I feel like I need a little taste of him here this week at North Wilkesboro. Excited about that. Let's get into. Do you have any other placement props that you're jonesing to get down on, or do you want to move into head-to-head groups or specials?
Let's probably move to head. I think I'm really torn. Like when you said the Joey thing, like I felt my argument was good in talking everybody out and talking out of Joey. Like, hey, are we just throwing him in here because he's done it before? So I was looking at Joey, and then I don't think so anymore. But you're a fool to not have some Hendrick cars on your list. Let's look at Chase Elliott too. I think as the week kind of progresses here, is Chase gonna be back? And I think Chase, after the race in Darlington, he put a ton of pressure on himself. He's like, look, guys that are in the same equipment as me, they're better than me right now. I need to get better. I need to be better. And he lacks a personality, we all know, but he seemed pretty stone cold and focused that, he wants this. And what more could NASCAR ask for than Chase Elliott winning at the All-Star Race at North Wilkesboro?
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I agree with you there. He'll be someone I'll be looking to possibly bet in some matchups if we get any more on him. Always someone difficult because we don't see a lot of matchups with Chase Elliott a lot usually. One that I felt really good about coming into tonight, and you've kind of talked me a little bit out of it, as much of a smash as I put down on it. I laid this earlier in the week. I got it at plus money. It's now minus 105 at Caesars. Logano over Kyle Busch. I already talked about it. Won 3 recent debut tracks. Second at Martinsville, though, and 7th at Richmond this year for Logano. So he's been good at the short tracks. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, we've already discussed it too. Terrible at Martinsville and Richmond. But you're kind of putting that aside. And obviously, this is a guy who he's also good at these special races, whether it was the dirt track last year, whether it's the All-Star Race last year, or the Coliseum this year. Like we've seen it with Kyle Busch. So I feel worse about it than I did, but I'm still very confident in that Kyle Busch will not beat Logano this week.
I'm gonna look. I guess that's where we kind of we've agreed directionally on a lot of things, but I guess that's been going to be our main disagreement, and I guess we'll be going back and forth on Sunday to see where Kyle Busch actually ends up. But Joey Logano, I like I said, I'm looking to fade Tyler Reddick. I'm on you with Joey Logano here over Tyler Reddick. Logano minus 135 over Tyler Reddick.
Where are you getting that at? Where's that at?
I see that on DraftKings. Again, bad Wi-Fi. Could be wrong.
No, I like it.
Let me double check that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
right here.
Okay.
Here it is. Logano minus 135 over Red Dog.
Wow. Get me on some of that. I honestly think that will probably be a quick add to my card as well. Before anything else in the head-to-heads or groups for you that you're looking at? I have a special. We're going to need a little bit of juice here, but I like it. But I like to give you an opportunity if you like anything else in this market here, Tim.
I was probably going to go heavy Kyle Busch in matchups. I'm looking at Kyle Busch versus Blaney. It's minus 110 both sides there. God, that's so tough. I don't want to go against my guy Blaney, but I think I'm higher on. I can't be on Blaney really in any capacity with how he's looked this year.
Yeah, and just the overall Ford camp, we've kind of touched on that earlier tonight as well. So I agree with you there. Let's eat a little bit of juice here. Let's go back to the NASCAR All-Star Open. I'm going to go with the winning car number over 38.5. This on Caesars minus 145. So, I did not see this bet until about three hours ago, but I bet earlier in the week it was probably some better odds. But at this price, you're getting Barry, you're getting Gibbs, and you're getting Priest, a dirt track guy. Gibbs has been great this season. I will throw my grandmother's house on this bet, Tim. I don't fucking care. I think this is a pretty good cash. Who's even your guy? Even we get your guy Gilly in this one too. Actually, no, we don't. No, we don't. We do. We're going against Gilly.
Yeah, we can't. That is a fine. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I might have to log off here and go liquidate the accounts and get on that. That is a find by you.
Hey, I love those little, the winning car number bets, man. They've been good to us so far this season on the back road. So I'm gonna
Dude.
keep going at it. Like, I know some people in this space. I've been dogged on Twitter before for taking for taking minus money on stuff, but I'm gonna keep doing it here. And like, you're betting against what, Almirola? Like who are you really betting against in that? Like, there's not.
No, I know. You're 100% right. I mean, I'm not talking because I'm scrambling to bet this.
All right. I like it, man. I like it. And then the last thing for me on my card this week, and this is like, we've taken a lot into account, at least I did it in my metrics, was Richmond, Martinsville, looking at these other short tracks. But this could be a total wild card. So, like, I think you have to go with your gut a little bit. And I don't know what it was, but I woke up today and something was in the air. And it wasn't just the weed I was smoking. No, it was Chris Buescher, baby. 40-1, 4-1. You're going to get him at Barstool for a top 10 as well. I like it, man. I really like Chris Buescher. Is able to hang around in these races. We already touched about how when there's less cars on the track, this guy is better for some reason. So I like him. He's got a top 5 at Richmond as well. But other than that, I have no analysis other than giddy up on Chris Buescher here, Tim.
When you eliminate the hornet's nest, I think a lot of these guys, he's a guy that, you're right, for some reason, I don't know if it's easier in his head to see that there's not as many cars in front of him. But I think that's a pretty good look. I mean, I'm kind of a little embarrassed because you kind of killed me. You had some absolute finds. I'm kind of a schmuck.
Oh, no, dude. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That was, I mean, look, it's hard because I love to bet top manufacturer. Like,
Yes.
I think there's so much value there. But for a race like this, where you're not going to have a full field, I think that kind of eliminate. Like, I guess I would say then my advice would be maybe stay away from that market this week. That's, as much as we talk about things to bet on, I would probably stay away from that type of market because I don't know. I don't see a ton there.
And I think that's just great advice for this race overall is let's not stay away from it because there are some advantages because the books can't handicap this any better than we can this week because it's such a new track to the circuit. But at the same time, we know what can happen to these races. We saw it at the dirt track. If you laid any type of coin down on that, you likely did not walk home a winner. So hopefully we can take advantage of this track like we did the Coliseum earlier this year when we hit on some big ones. Tim, any final thoughts on it as we approach what's going to be a damn fun weekend? Regardless of the outcome, regardless if you win or lose money, I think it's just going to be a blast to watch.
No, I totally agree. And I think, what I'm saying is my card's not going to be enormous because this race, your card should not be enormous for this race. It's just one of those things. There's only a few spots where you can really find value and go enjoy the damn thing. Like I said, I'm going to have action, but if you are punching your TV over losing Gilly in the open, then this whole thing ain't for you. It's like, that's kind of what I would think. And I would love to be on here for when we can really dive deep and really go into our pockets here and be like, okay, these top 10s that we saw that guy with the $1 million parlay kind of killed all those top 10s at super speedways. The prices have never been the same since. But I think that's kind of my advice is you don't have to bet your normal NASCAR handle, which for me is usually pretty big. Mine's going to be smaller.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, man. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. Tim, tell us one more time, man, how we can best support you throughout the remainder of this 2023 NASCAR season.
You can follow my TikTok at TCali12, Kali, the Cali is. You can follow my Twitter at TimmyCal12. And just, support racing, man. There is no other sport quite like this. I love it. I mean, I've worked with NASCAR before. They sent me to the championship race there. They love young fans. And if you show that you really care about the sport, it is for people that are trying to get jobs in sports too and whatnot, go learn something like NASCAR. And it is a great way to to get into sports. It's incredible. I think it's fun every single week that the sport we get to discuss, are the rules any good? And do we need to adjust the rules? The car, tire wear, horsepower. No other sport do we get to really do that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm glad to find another young content creator like yourself that enjoys this sport and is doing it for the right reasons, guys. Make sure you follow him on TikTok. Absolutely hilarious follow. He'll teach you everything from how to make screwdrivers to all the craziest takes in the world. So, Tim, we can't thank you enough. Thanks to all the IBT family for tuning in. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Come back and hang out with us again. Tim, thanks, man. Thanks to all the family out there. Enjoy the All-Star weekend, and we'll be back next week here on the Backroad.